Diversification just for diversification's sake is not always going to get you the necessary returns that you are looking for. Just because there is an existing asset class out there doesn't mean that you have to have a piece of that pie. Diversification, spreading your investments across various asset classes, helps to reduce risk and maximize returns in the long run. No major problems with that by any means, but I will add a few different points of elaboration, if you will. Diversification just for diversification's sake is not always going to get you the necessary returns that you are looking for. Just because there is an existing asset class out there doesn't mean that you have to have a piece of that pie. When you look at a list of all the different sectors in the economy and in the stock market, you don't have to necessarily own every single one of them. Diversification as a rule, yes, absolutely, we do believe in diversification and a well-balanced portfolio. Reason for that is because we never know what specific asset class in any given year is going to be the best performing. And it's impossible for us to know. It's impossible for anyone to know. Anyone telling you otherwise is, quite frankly, just lying to you. And they have their own interests at heart because they're, quite frankly, probably trying to sell you something. But really, the best thing to do, yes, absolutely, is to diversify your portfolio. But there is such a thing as over-diversification as well. And this is something that I've had to educate clients a lot on throughout the years because they think that they want to diversify their portfolios, meaning they have to have a piece of every single little sector out there in the market. And they have to have so much allocated to international, and they have to have so much allocated to small caps and real estate and all these different subsets of the market. And while I certainly understand that thinking, there was a valuable rule that I learned when I came into this business around the way to construct a portfolio. If you can't put 5% towards something, you can't put 5% towards anything, okay? Basically what that means is it's the old football analogy. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one, you don't have enough of a conviction in your portfolio towards any specific asset class. At some point, you need to have conviction around what it is that you're investing in. You need to understand why you're investing in something, whether that's a specific asset class or maybe it's real estate or whatever it may be. You need to have conviction in what it is that you're putting money to, what you're investing in, and why you're doing it. Okay, so diversification absolutely is certainly very valuable, but there is a risk of over-diversification in your portfolio as well. Along those same lines, we're talking about investment diversification. What this does not talk about is tax diversification. And we spend a lot of time talking about tax planning and preparing for taxes in retirement. Most people tend to think that the number one expense in retirement is going to be healthcare, which is absolutely not true. That's typically number two, but number one is still taxes by a mile, by a long country mile, quite frankly. And so we have to prepare for taxes, and the best way to do that, to prepare for taxes in retirement and to alleviate that tax burden, is to start that tax planning when you're young, okay? And the way that you do that is to diversify not only your investments, of course, but where those investments are located. Okay, and that's called asset location. You want to locate your assets, your tax-efficient assets, in the most tax-efficient vehicles and your least tax-efficient assets and maybe your less tax-efficient vehicles. But you also need to have different types of vehicles, right? You need to have different cookie jars from which you can draw your cookies from. The reason for that is because if you have three different types of accounts, you're going to have three different types of tax treatment, meaning you're able to pick and choose to a far greater degree in retirement the type of taxes that you want to realize. I really love control around your investments, but control also extends to the tax liabilities that you're going to have throughout your retirement. So you want to have a little bit of pre-tax, you want to have a little bit of post-tax, and you want to have a little bit of tax-free. And if you have kind of a combination of all three types of those accounts, you're going to be set up for a pretty successful retirement. And there's never enough emphasis placed on tax diversification as much as it is on portfolio diversification.